The Chinese room is a theory about the physical symbol hypothesis. So, for this model, I guess you could call it, you have a room like this, and in the room, there's a person. It could be you, if that is easier for you to think about it as. And basically, the point of this room is that it has input and output. And the person in the room is given an instruction manual to sort the input according to that instruction manual. So the instruction manual will be on that brown desk there. So it's the Chinese room because it's taking in different Chinese letters. As you see here, these are just random Chinese letters. And the person in the room doesn't have any understanding of these letters, doesn't know what they mean. So they're set up kind of as input, and that hole there on the side of the room is where you can imagine the input coming in. And then, don't understand the meaning of the letters. And so you're going to take this input that's coming into the room, and you're going to take the instruction manual that you're given, and you're going to create output that's going to come out of the room. So as you think about it, input, you are kind of the filter, and then you produce output. The letters are going to be organized in a specific way, more in a pattern. So here, they're being sorted, like the first row is a certain sorting, and the second row is its own sorting. So this like hypothetical instruction manual we have is going to be, it's going to say focus on this mark in the top left corner of the letter. And so that's how the letters were organized for output. And so when you look at these organized letters, it looks like there's some sort of meaning behind it, like there's the deeper than there really is. So this is a good representation of the physical symbol system hypothesis, because it is basically just symbol manipulation. You're taking in these letters and you're organizing them in some sort of way that doesn't really have any meaning. Like if you look at those letters and you don't understand them, that it does seem like there's some sort of meaning, but it's really just organization. And it lacks actual intelligence and meaning, which is because you don't understand Chinese. So this is what kind of exists in good old-fashioned AI. It's symbol manipulation rather than real intelligence and thinking. So Searle kind of used this model to explain that it kind of back to the physical symbol system, that it's symbol manipulation that doesn't actually have real understanding. It's, you can take input and you can create output without there being like actual meaning, because you don't understand these letters. And so the argument is that the Chinese room itself doesn't understand Chinese because the person inside the room doesn't understand Chinese. So how would the room, like there's no actual understanding of Chinese going on. It's just symbol manipulation. And so this reviews problems with the Turing test, and that's a completely different thing, but that needs its own explanation, but it reveals problems with that. So overall, the takeaways from the Chinese room is that the person in the Chinese room is just manipulating symbols. There's no intelligence, there's no understanding of the Chinese language going on. It's just symbol manipulation, which goes back to the physical symbol hypothesis, and good old-fashioned AI, how much real learning and understanding is going on there. And then the system's reply would be, does the room understand Chinese if the person doesn't understand Chinese? It's sort of a rhetorical question that you could use to think about this, kind of frame it in the way that these thinkers did. And the robot reply is that the Chinese room doesn't understand Chinese because the person in the room doesn't understand Chinese. And it's not because of a disconnect between syntax and semantics, but because the room has no opportunity to interact with its environment, and that is not allowing it to learn. So now I want to relate the physical symbol system hypothesis to Turing machines, which I talked about earlier. And so sort of the idea is that the underlyings of the Chinese room can be related to and applied back to these ideas. So a Turing machine is this like hypothetical machine, and it kind of works as like a scanner that is looking at like an aisle sort of little cells, and it can only scan a single cell at a time. And the idea is that this machine is ideal for implementing any algorithm or solving any like mathematical equation. So it's easy to think about if you think about like with a function, like you have a function, you're inputting q, like f of q, whatever, and a Turing machine kind of works like that. So, but again, it is hypothetical. It's not like an actual physical machine that exists, and it kind of was like the underlying basis for how computers work and stuff like that. So here's kind of a model of like what a Turing machine would look like physically. So you have those arrows represent tape, you're reading in something from the tape starting all the way in the right at the top, maybe over to this machine that's scanning in those cells, and then the tape continues and goes and creates output. And so down here again, it's just more representation of how to think of a Turing machine. It's looking, so they're at S0, it's looking at the ones, it's looking at the zeros, then it's moving to S1, again looking at ones and zeros. Kind of think of it as like looking at these individual cells, and then eventually it's going to get to a cell that's going to say stop, which is going to be the one right here. So this is how you can really think of a Turing machine. It's very hypothetical, and it's very conceptual. So relating it back to the Chinese room disproves the idea of the Turing machine. Not even necessarily disproves, but kind of shows the fault in that with it and symbol manipulation. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it and found it informational and accurate. So thank you.